It was 1943 when the editors of Amazing Stories, a popular sci-fi pulp magazine, received a letter that told not only a bizarre tale, but one that would be confirmed by others including intelligence agencies and the military for years to come. So unbelievable was the story in the letter that the editors first thought it was a story submission for the magazine as opposed to a true account. The author of the letter was a young welder from Pennsylvania by the name of Richard Shaver. Shaver claimed that one day back in 1932, he began receiving telepathic messages from all things his welding tools. The letter went on to explain that the messages were originating from an ancient civilization that once existed underground here on Earth, that later left the planet to inhabit the stars. If that were not strange enough, he also claimed that not all of the inhabitants had left the planet. Some remained behind and over time degenerated into what he called DEROs, short for detrimental energy robots. It is said that these DEROs taunt the human race through telepathic means in addition to periodically kidnapping humans for experimentation. Shaver's accounts were published over the years in various periodicals, but were so bizarre that they were presented as tales of fiction. Shaver continued to receive telepathic messages to the point that he eventually was committed. Doctors, finding no measurable mental deficiencies, aside from his claims of telepathic messages, decided after a few years to release him. No longer employed, he wandered the streets and was soon arrested for vagrancy. In a strange twist, an unknown benefactor posted Shaver's bail. The anonymous Good Samaritan, as Shaver would later claim, turned out to be an agent for the DEROs and took him underground for reorientation, and it was years before he was returned to society. While this story can easily be dismissed as the musings of a madman, over the years several others would confirm Shaver's bizarre assertions of a subterranean world and the DEROs creatures. One of the more famous cases was that of Steve Brody. Mr. Brody claims that he and a friend, while rock hunting in Arizona, were warned by locals that many individuals had disappeared over the years in the area. Brody and his friend dismissed the warnings and headed out into the desert. A few hours later, they were approached by two cloaked individuals. As the figures approached, Brody's friend panicked and ran. One of the mysterious figures raised a weapon and a beam of light shot out in what Brody perceived as killing his friend. Brody stood frozen in fear as the other figure came up to him and placed a device on his head, rendering him unconscious. The next thing he remembers is waking up in some sort of underground cavern with other humans. He recounted being held prisoner by what the other prisoners called DERO. The next thing he remembers is regaining consciousness in New York City 6 months later, having no idea or records of how he got there. What makes it interesting is his use of the DEROs name, since he claimed he had never heard of Richard Shaver nor had read any science fiction stories. To this day, confirmation is made through documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. Researchers searching government documents for information on UFOs and aliens have stumbled on the term DEROs hundreds of times. Further confirmation comes from Phil Schneider, a proclaimed underground base engineer. He recounts a 1979 shootout between these subterranean aliens and the military at the deep underground military base in Dulce, New Mexico. While some say these are merely fictional accounts by attention seekers, others claim it is part of a much larger conspiracy, making the strange case of Richard Shaver one of the most enigmatic stories in history.